Mayoral Memo with Matthew Dickerson from Dubbo Regional Council.
Now, the federal government's Aviation White Paper has been released. What's your thought on this? Does it show enough support for regional aviation industry?
Well, the most important thing is that we actually are recognising, the federal government's recognising the importance of regional aviation. I'd always like to see more and more in any white paper, in any information that comes out from the government. But regional aviation is incredibly important to regional locations. We find lots of health services, lots of government services, professional services, a whole range of different areas rely on regional aviation. So at least the white paper in the first instance recognises that regional aviation is important. I'd certainly like to see a bit more money for the regional airports program. We'd like to see that maybe up around the $500 million mark. It's only $40 million at the moment. And unfortunately, in regional aviation or in any aviation, anything you do to an airport seems to be incredibly expensive. So $40 million across the entire nation is not a lot of money. And when you consider there are approximately 200 regional airports and aerodromes that are owned and operated by local governments across the nation, $40 million spread amongst those 200 is not a lot of money. But at least it's a start. At least we're getting some recognition in a white paper that regional aviation does exist and it is important.
Of course. And so which of these recommendations are you happy to see included?
Well, that's the first one. The Productivity Commission is talking about trying to identify opportunities to improve regional services and keep the prices down. The money that, in terms of investing, increasing that investment would be fantastic. The slot reform, and this only really affects the eastern states, but the slot reform for Sydney Airport is long overdue. That's always been an issue with regional aviation. But trying to keep the prices down, and there are so many regulatory overheads with airports and aerodromes now, not just security screening, but keeping the whole area of the airport secure. Our pavement, the actual type of pavement that we use and the length of that pavement, planes are larger now that are using those airports. So one of the things that makes it difficult for regional aviation to stay cost effective is that as the owner of an airport, as local government often is, then we typically run at a loss. 60% of those airports across the nation are running at a loss, which is unfair on the ratepayers in those regional locations for some of those essential services, in particular government services. And one of the ways certainly we think that you could reduce those costs of air travel is not by giving money to the airlines, but by giving more money to local government to run those airports, to maintain those airports. We could effectively then charge those airlines less money, and that would make the air travel cheaper for everyone, because obviously those fees that we pass on to the airlines are passed directly on to passengers. Working out a way that we could reduce those fees, and really this involves money, a funding stream to regional airports, that would make a lot of sense and certainly help with regional aviation, because our numbers are smaller. The economy of scale is certainly harder to deliver when you've got those smaller numbers flying into and out of regional airports.
Now, would you say these measures are quite long overdue, considering the recent collapse of two regional airlines and rising airfares, for example?
Well, the collapse of Bonza and the voluntary administration of Rex certainly do highlight the fact that this is an issue that does need to be addressed. Is it long overdue? Is it something that's been bubbling away for a little while? Probably COVID brought a lot of things to a head, and certainly in air travel, things were brought to a head with COVID. So possibly this is maybe a reaction to trying to get things back to normal and then looking at how we look at the whole industry after COVID. And this is a part of the problem. The air travel industry is so easily impacted by external factors. So when things do happen sometimes, it does have a huge impact on the industry. So maybe if you try and look for a silver lining from COVID, and it's hard to say that because many people lost their lives, but maybe a complete review of the airline industry is one of those things that's a positive out of COVID.
Thanks for your time today.
Thank you very much.
Mayoral Memo with Matthew Dickerson from Dubbo Regional Council.